Good morning again and welcome to this program of Pan-African Friday. Today, Friday, all the way from Kampala. Today, Kampala is a bit clear, the clear skies. We have always been having rains, at least at such a time, but at least today, of course, it is true. I saw some places had rain in the morning, especially around the lake, but most of Kampala is dry today, and I'm sure the rest of the country, and most parts of the country today, at least from the weather forecast, we've been told it is a dry country, and then people are going around doing their usual chores. In Kampala, if you go downtown now, maybe today is a bit okay, but has been chaotic for the last 3 days as people run up and down doing their final purchases, and others tomorrow I think it's going to be worse today. But that is Kampala for you. Otherwise, welcome you to this program of Pan-African Friday. Sorry, last week we were here briefly because we had the live broadcast earlier in the morning. No, it was not a live broadcast, but they had a program which came from National Drug Authority and pushed us a bit an hour off. And today we have to come to you a bit late, about 30 minutes also, because also there were other arrangements that we are experiencing here. And of course, as people gear towards Christmas, a lot of things happen to make life for all of us easier and better. In the studio, as usual, I have my usual 2 panelists, that is Rachel Takali and Ndugu Rugarama. But I'm also today joined with another person, and that is Pastor Kajura Jimmy. We were supposed to have had him last week when we were looking at issues of religion and issues of Christianity and issues of Africa and then development and religion. But of course, we couldn't have him. Nonetheless, we are happy we have him today. We could still have a lot that would have discussed, but still we'll have a few things that we can talk with him today. And for that, we'll go straight to what we're looking at today. And of course, because this being a Christmas time, everyone is looking at Christmas. So I'm sure even the previous deliberations here were Christmas. I heard yesterday again, there was a lot that was being talked about Christmas. The French, I think, call it Noël, and then the Spanish, I think, call it Navidad, something like that, and the Italians call it Natale. So all this meaning Christmas, but what does Christmas mean anyway? As in the African context, what does Christmas mean? For those who believe certain things, they believe that Christmas is a word meaning the birth of Jesus Christ, and that Jesus Christ was born on such a day, and others believe the contrary. So these are some of the things we'll be looking at today. Does it make any sense to a Christian or a religious person? Because now here we have 2 issues, the Christian part, but also the religious part of it. So that is what we shall be looking at today. And before we do that, I think I will allow people just to say, introduce themselves, to say hi, and then we can go straight to that topic. And we'll begin with Ndugu Rugarama. Karibu.
Asante. Good morning to you all, comrades. Once again, Merry Christmas and very happy new 2024 in advance, because we are really geared towards there.
Okay. Then Rachel, can introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm Rachel Takali, and as usual, we join you to deliberate on a number of issues as they have occurred across the continent, whether that is in relation to Christmas in this particular case or in other respects.
Okay. And Bwana Kajura, here we use the word Ndugu.
Well, comrade.
Comrade. Kajura, you can also, because I would introduce you in a million versions, but I know you have the best version which people want people to know you. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Pastor Jimmy Kajura, currently lecturing in Bugema University.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are now going to look at this topic, and we Nduku Kajura is a lecturer at the Bugema University, but is also a scholar, is an educationist, and is a theologian. And I think we will begin with him to let us know, what does Christmas definitely mean? What is Christmas, in other words?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Christmas, of course, by definition, as it was adopted in Christianity, it means the birth of Christ. But I don't know how many minutes I'm given to just briefly ramble through the history to reach where we are.
Yeah,
Because this Christmas began in a Neolithic era, Middle Age, where especially, of course it was across Europe, especially German, France, England, and Rome or Italy. But it was more dramatic in Italy and England.
Sure.
I'm just giving a brief recap. And it intensified more in Rome, per se, especially in the year around the 400. No, it was. I'm not, but it's around 4th century, the 4th century there. The specific year, I'll come with it later. And it all began with the god called Saturn or Saturnalia. This was a god responsible for agriculture and production.
That is in Rome.
In Rome, yes. And as they celebrated that god, it used to be celebrated for the full month of December. And it developed to the stage of Juvenalia. This actually, yes, Juvenalia, where they celebrated the birth, fertility, the birth of babies. And they were celebrating, of course, God, their God responsible for that, but they were appreciating. And it is from that background they developed an idea that Mithra, who is the god of the sun, in the sun, the unconquerable god, the sun, was born in that very month. And this dramatized and promoted the issue very, very much. Now, to come to where we are, in the year 336, Emperor Constantine, those who are well versed with the history of Christianity, this man, you can't miss him. He was an emperor, very powerful, and he played a big role to unite, actually, to combat or to bring to an end the restless wars between Christianity and the pagan Rome. Those wars costed a lot of lives. So in 336, among the things that Emperor Constantine achieved is also to adopt because this celebration was very untouchable and very, very big. There is no way you could convince anyone to leave it out. And in that year of 336, the Christmas we have today, because they claimed Christ was also born. And these people have been celebrating the birth of their Mithra. So it was adopted into Christianity to have it as we have it today. Just a recap of that. And I think I will submit when other questions come. But that's the history. In the Bible, even actually when the Pope that was reigning by then, Julius I, confessed that in the Bible you cannot find that Christ was born on 25th December, but you know, we have to celebrate. And I think the entire Christianity has accepted it, and it has no harm for me. It has no harm.
Okay.
Yeah. It is
Nduguru
harmless.
Garama.
I am particularly impressed by the historical recount of my brother, Pastor Kajura. I would have certainly loved that he weaves it into the, probably he will do it later, into the practical everyday Christian life. But three things stand out for me. Given that kind of background, the Christmas, therefore, and the birth of Christ is largely a European thing.
Of course.
Going by
Of course.
my brother Kajura's submission, it is Italian, it is British,
and
it is French. If we hold that
Can't
to be
you summarize
true,
that?
if we hold that,
If you add Italian to a Brit to a French,
yes,
what do you get?
Europe.
this is imperialism, of course, now, and we shall go there. Now, if we hold that to be true, therefore, it means that Jesus we are celebrating, whose birth we are celebrating, whether it is on 25th, whether it is on any other day, then this is not the kind of Jesus that organically comes from the African continent. Just like Christianity is contested to be, because I'm deliberately using the word contested, because there are those, especially from the Pan-African angle, who say Christianity is actually an African thing. The Europeans, as usual, so they say, stole it, took it there, rebranded and brought it as if it was their own.
No, but
That's
I
another
think
school of
that's
thought.
the point he's saying here.
Yes.
If you got it right, if I did, he's saying that Jesus was born, but
And where he was
and
born.
was not born on 25th of December.
Yes.
Yes.
But someone is also has a very big, strong pagan practice, which cannot let go, because then it will cause chaos, and this is what led to the chaos of Christians and pagans.
He has even linked it. He said it was associated with a god called Satanari.
Yeah.
Satan. This is the Satan we talk about
No,
here.
I think it's not the Satan.
There has to be a very strong correlation, because it is not the first time I'm hearing. But even the eschatological scholars, where I want to believe my brother comes from, arguing that actually this was a pagan or satanic kind of celebration. But anyway, like I said, three things standing out. I think I have dealt with one, that this is not an African thing.
Sure,
Just like
agreed.
the education system we have in the African continent, the religious practices we have on the African continent are not African. The celebration, the birth of Jesus Christ, the celebration of Christmas is simply not African. That is one. Two, we contest as to the kind of Jesus presented to us as Africans, whether he is actually the same Jesus who is presented archaeologically speaking and at the same time geographically speaking. Because the blue-eyed Jesus with this kind of hair is not, when you go by archaeology and where he is supposed to have been born from, forget about the stealing of the science and so many things that the Europeans have stolen that went with colonialism. We suspect that we are largely, because when you look at the films which go around, we don't have. And this man, I'm told, actually came up and confessed. He said, you people, you are celebrating, you think I'm the Jesus. I'm not. So my submission is that even, forget about the date, even the Jesus we seem to be celebrating, whose birthday we seem to be celebrating, is actually not the real Jesus. And finally, the mode of celebration. Just the same way this particular Jesus is not actually the very Jesus whom we are supposed to be celebrating, and we are confused about his actual date of birth, and at the same time, the relevancy and the mode of celebrating his birth is also shrouded in confusion. Because what we are supposed to be doing, at least going by the Bible, reconciling with each other, forgiving each other, has now turned into a show of what we have amassed, probably even what we have stolen, and going back, this practice of going back to the village, which wouldn't be a bad practice, by the way, but in majority of the cases, I want to give my own figures. 8 out of 10 actually do go back to the villages, not so much that they want to create an impact or get to associate with those that they have not seen for a full year, but to show that we are there and we are at a different level, and this is how we are now behaving. The powerful are looking at the less powerful and less privileged, and it is not about how you have renewed your association with those where probably you were born or with your relationship with God, but about how to live a luxurious life. Look at the way they celebrate: drinking alcohol, wine, beers, boasting. This is what has come. If I was still teaching, I would be setting questions to do with the relevancy of Christmas, and I would expect a student to answer it in a very pragmatic and practical way, to show that actually it is more of a boastful way and show off rather than renewal of the relationship between man and his creator.
It has never been. Oh, anyway, you had something to add.
Yes, I just wanted to supplement something. When you look at the history of Christianity, there was they believed there was an occurrence of God of misrule. There was no order in the month of December. And the celebrations were associated with drinking the most harmful substances.
I like that.
And there was a lot of murder. There was a lot of rape, because this was a state, especially from 21st to, actually in Rome it used to occur from 21st to 31st. In Britain it used to occur for 12 days. That is from 27 to 6 January. It used to overlap. But the characters are the same, because it was a state. I mean, the nation or the society was in a state of lawlessness, and all the wicked people had to go into caves and to hide. You could not survive that month, that period, and a lot, as I've said, a lot of rape, a lot of drinking, a lot of murder, because even the rich people. Actually, they said that there was nothing like now the rich and the poor. Okay. Because even the poor people were raiding the homes of the rich people and loot whatever they want. That was the state of this celebration. The slaves, there were no slaves anymore in this period. They were also, even in some societies, they were forced, the masters were forced to serve the slaves, oh. Yes. So, when you look at, I'm just supplementing, you know, I subscribe to a religion that has refused to adopt Christianity, because I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and when you look into the Bible, yes, Christ was born, but he didn't even tell us to celebrate his birthday. So for that matter, I'm not speaking this out of hatred, but it is also historical, these are historical facts. When you look at the Christmas today, just as my brothers elaborated, the core activities have never vanished.
The same?
Yeah, they are still the same. Because it's about drinking, It's about sexual immorality. It's a lot, just as it was. It fulfills actually its history.
Rachel?
I think I'd like to start by saying, to me, whether Christ was born on June 1st, whether he was born on March 20th, does not alter my position in terms of what his contribution is to humanity. I was just sitting here thinking that we have dwelled much on the subject of Africans being able to internalize these things and to address them in accordance to things as they understand them, not as people in Britain understand them, and so on and so forth. I was also thinking, for example, the Chinese New Year is not the Western New Year, and the Islamic calendar is not the one that we generally use in this part of the world. But that has not kept those people from being able to do what they need to do, understand what other calendars are all about, knit whatever they need to do together, and move on with their lives. I'm thinking that that is really what Christmas should be about. As far as I understand, Christ and his birth is supposed to have represented a birth of the virtues that come with the Christ name. The Bible is very clear that there will never be a day when there are no drunk people, there will never be a day when there are no murderers and thieves, and people who do things that are associated with darkness. In fact, that was the reason why Christ was born into this world. So for me, the date is of no consequence to me, really. As in, it was not supposed to be, and he never named the day. That is for other people to deal with. For me, I get the best from this experience, and among the things that are supposed to be evident for people who understand the relevance of Christ's birth, he expects us to be more loving, more kind, more gentle, more so on and so forth. It is a human thing to be consumed with arguments, some of them important, some of them not so important. But I think we have to, the Pan-African Show has been spending a lot of time urging the African person to always look for the high ground and to see what is it in this thing for me, and leave those other things to other people. I'll give you an example. As I was sitting here also, I was thinking about our brothers who have recently had their elections. There's one in Egypt and one in DRC. DRC in particular is half and half, Catholic, Protestant, and then the others. But they're also in this Christmas period. So the question becomes, if we as African people have understood what Christ is about, why is it that in issues governance and in issues social and in issues economic, there is not that imprint that should be there in a person who says they understood why Christ came into this world? There are many things that divide us as people who say we believe in Jesus Christ, but there are commonalities also. Because even when my brother says he's an Adventist, I know that he doesn't have any quarrels with love and joy and peace and patience, because those are the things, the primary reasons Christ came to dislodge the very darkness that he talked about in the era of the Romans and so on and so forth. So for me, Ndugu Mututa, every time these days come around, I ask myself, those of us who say we're Christians, whether we be in Congo, whether we be in South Africa, how come the imprint, the Christ-likeness, is not making significant inroads? Where have we gone wrong? Have we not understood? Are we taking this thing at a superficial level? Do we intend to delve further? Were we overtaken by Western traditions as opposed to... Because Christianity itself is an Eastern religion, we know this. We know that the peoples where it came from were either Jewish or Arabic by extraction. not Muslims, but distant relatives of present-day Arabs, by far and large. So we say to ourselves, if Christ indeed was born for these reasons, and we bear these names that say our parents understood and were part of this arrangement, why is there no movement in Christ-likeness?
Yeah, because, thank you. Last time, when we were looking at the religion, let alone Christianity, when we were looking at the letter that King Leopold wrote to the missionaries now who were coming to Africa, they were being given instructions on how to handle Africans, that indeed Africans already know God, so there's nothing you are going to teach them which is new, but that you teach them our things that will help us to maintain grip on them, on their resources, and so that they are kept in bondage.
Pacify them for exploitation.
Exactly. So,
Killing
in other
them
words,
if you have to.
yeah, in other words, the religion that he counted, the French, the British, the
German.
the Germans, the Italians, the Romans, yes, which they brought to Africa, was meant to keep people in bondage. And now we're looking, when you look at Christmas as one of them, that these are some of the traditions that were incorporated in the new religion to teach the people of Africa, so that the people of Africa are kept in darkness. Now, including that, when it came to education, he said, now, when you are teaching them, please don't teach them to reason. Just teach them how to learn to read and to write. And basically, that is what we are doing. But when you now study deeper into the issues, and you find that kumbe, the things that were being taught by these people are not the things that were supposed to have been taught. And when you read, because now when you are dissecting, put religion aside, put Christianity aside, put the Bible aside, and put other books aside, you then discover that actually there are certain things that might just were brought into Christianity, but they still present the characteristics as were practiced, like he put it.
But
So
I think
think
also,
for the Africans,
Ndugu Mututa, even before you leave that point, this issue of covering or clothing religion in traditions of others has not been limited to Christianity. Because even the dress code of the Muslim woman, the covering, this covering, is supposed to have been very important in keeping these harsh sand conditions in the Middle East. It kept sand out of people's eyes, but we, the Africans, have taken that on wholesale.
I think you have,
including the tree behind you.
Not just the woman, by the way,
yes.
even the man.
It is for the sand.
The light
Yes.
kind of clothes.
It has nothing to do with religion.
No, I was coming to that, but I think
And the tree too.
We are
mention.
talking a lot about Christianity, like the Islam is not an issue, but we'll also have time to look at that, how we the Islam religion, the Arabic culture, and also their paganism has
also been brought
compounded into this. And you know, much as the colonialists kept us for 400 years, the Arabs also colonized us for close to 1,200 years.
True.
So we will also have time to look at this to see. These are the evils that Africans have been told, have been bedeviled with. Now, you also talking about symbolism, and I think I will ask him, you're the one who raised it, about this tree.
The evergreen.
Yes, what does it mean?
It belongs to another climate.
Exactly. I think he will explain something to that. Yes, yeah. So we as Africans, and you put it, the Chinese have their year.
It hasn't kept them from advancing.
Yes.
The Japanese.
Yes.
Are they less of God's people
The Arabs
than
have their own
us who
alphabet. It
claim
hasn't
to
kept
be
them from
Christians?
moving.
Exactly. And we are presented with Jesus that you said with blue eyes like is coming from the Queens of New York.
By the way, we need to complain bitterly to God. And probably this time, not that we are against him, but we need to register our dissatisfaction.
But it was not God who told the colonizer to do
just
that.
a minute. Africa, arguably, if we are so much Christians, even as compared, better than even those who brought Christianity, by the way.
Not if.
How come that we are the most afflicted? We have the low incomes, our economies are bad, our life expectancy is completely down. We are not comparing anywhere with the Japanese who hardly know God, who don't practice Christianity.
The Chinese who don't want God.
If we assume that the God must be approached through Christianity, then I think the Africans, largely speaking, especially those who are colonized by the Italians, the French, the Germans, the English, then we know God better than any other. And therefore God should be responding to our needs better than any other society. But it is not the same.
But you
we
also,
need to register that serious complaint.
You will come to that. But you also remember that even the place where Jesus was born was very chaotic. You remember at his birth, when this man realized that the Jesus was born, he had to be flown out to, no, not flown, walked out to Egypt, to Africa here. And I've been telling you people, guys, that when we talk about Christianity, I think we Africans, we are numb. We don't get sensitive when it comes to issues. That this Jesus we are talking about never walked in the streets of New York, never visited the streets of London, never went near the streets of Italy, but he moved in the bushes of Africa. That one has a meaning. But also, in terms of Christianity, indeed, that we may not have been Christian as African society, but we knew God to begin with. So the Christianity that came later on found people who are already in the knowing of God more than these other people. When you look even at them, I think at one point we shall see a video how churches in Europe and America and other parts have been converted into nightclubs. Are these people better than we do here? But he has a point that he was coming with.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just wanted to respond to my brother's question.
Why God has left us in poverty?
Well, I'm a Bible scholar and a teacher. When you look at the Bible, you'll find that the Bible is claiming also that Satan is the ruler of the world. You know, Satan, after being expelled from heaven, he established himself. You know, it's like he promoted himself here and said, I'm the one now.
He also got a territory.
Yes, I'm the one now in charge. And this is evidenced also when he's tempting Christ, whom he knows better that is the creator. He tells him, kneel down and worship me. I'll give you all this you are seeing. Why have I begun on that note? I'd like the listeners and the viewers to know this, that Europe has never been friendly to godly matters.
Sure.
And it is a long history, if I can elaborate, right from the Old Testament. You see that Europe, they have never been godly people, I'm sorry to say so, as at a larger spectrum. I'm not on an individual
I said last week that they are the most godless society.
So it is, when it comes to Jesus' New Testament, where everybody can agree with me, you see that the king that wanted to kill Jesus when in his infancy was an European.
Not
the one who butchered all the younger male
boys.
Children born.
That
you see?
And
the safest place for Jesus to stay was Africa. in Egypt.
Egypt.
Where there was no violence.
Yes. What am I trying to say? Africa, actually African culture, because I teach these courses, African culture and the biblical culture, to a large extent, we rhyme.
Sure.
We are in agreement. And what is bringing a problem today, to answer, I think it was my sister, that why are we not godly? I want to tell you that the challenge is that when the European brought religion here, they promoted their culture more than the Bible. And today, for you to be civilized, it means to be European.
Not to be
For you
biblical.
to be regarded as a civilized, modern person, updated, you have to be.
When we come back, we are getting it
European.
up from there.
Not to be
After this
biblical,
break,
not to be
after a short break, we shall be back with this debate, and it's getting interesting to understand if we are actually Christians, or we are religious, or if we are Africans, or if we are civilized. So don't go away. We shall be back shortly after this break with more discussion.
What's good? Christmas is here, the holidays are here. It's your boy Calvin, the entertainer, and I'm here to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy 2024. Of course, the season is about spreading love, spending time with family and friends, and also sharing with one another. It does not necessarily have to be a family member, but it can also be an immediate neighbor in your hood. So I'm here to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Peace and love.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Pick of the day on UBC.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources, such as inspirational profiles.
Having disability is not inability.
Every Friday 9 p.m., it's one-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for?
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
my fellow Ugandans, as the year draws to a close, I come before you with a heart full of gratitude for the peace and security that prevails across our nation. The streets are bustling, markets are thriving, and the families are gathering in anticipation of the festive season. This is a testament to the unwavering dedication of our security forces, the vigilance of our communities, and the shared commitment we all hold to a safe and prosperous Uganda. The festive season brings with it an undeniable joy, but it also presents opportunities for those who seek to disrupt our peace. As we celebrate, let us remain vigilant in crowded places like public transport, supermarkets, areas of worship, and entertainment centers. Be mindful of your surroundings. Report suspicious activity to security personnel and trust your instincts. Remember, your vigilance is our collective strength. The threat of terrorism remains a global challenge, and Uganda is not immune. However, let me assure you that our security agencies are working tirelessly to safeguard our nation. We have enhanced our intelligence gathering, strengthened community mobilization through local defense units, and increased vigilance at key entry points to our country. Together, we have disrupted numerous plots and prevented countless attacks. This is a victory we share, a testament to the unwavering resolve of our security forces and the unwavering support of our communities. Crime, though reduced, still casts a shadow on our society. To combat it, we have deployed joint security teams on foot and on motorized patrols, ensuring a visible presence in vulnerable areas. We are working with communities to identify and address the root causes of crime, fostering a sense of shared responsibility for public safety. In the Karamoja region, we have faced a long-standing challenge of livestock theft or rustling. To address this, the government has adopted a multi-pronged approach. We have deployed additional security forces to deter violence, facilitated intercommunal peace dialogue meetings, and launched development initiatives to create alternative livelihoods. We are committed to working hand in hand with the people of Karamoja to build a lasting peace in the region. Land is a precious resource, and disagreements can sometimes escalate into violence. To prevent such conflicts, we are working with district security committees to implement resolutions that restrain individuals from participating in illegal land wrangles. We encourage all Ugandans to resolve land disputes peacefully through dialogue and through legal systems, through courts of laws. The festive season often sees an increase in traffic, and fortunately accompanied by a rise in road accidents. I urge all road users to prioritize safety. avoid drunk driving, reckless driving, and non-observance of traffic rules. Let us remember that every life is precious and every journey deserves to be completed safely. Gender-based violence is a heinous crime that has no place in our society. I call upon all the local councils, leaders, especially the LC1 leaders, religious leaders, social workers, and community members to actively sensitize the communities against gender-based violence. Let us stand together to create a society where women and girls can live free from fear and discrimination. My fellow countrymen, I want to assure you that the government remains steadfast in its commitment to your safety and security. Our security forces are well trained, well equipped, and dedicated to serving and protecting you. We are confident that by working together, we can maintain the peace and the stability that Uganda enjoys today. As we celebrate the festive season, let us do so with gratitude for the blessings we share. Let us embrace the spirit of unity and compassion, and let us carry this spirit into the new year. Together, we can build a brighter future for Uganda, a future where peace reigns and where every citizen feels safe and secure. I thank you and wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy festive season.
Yeah, we'll come back from that break. Thank you for being with us at UBC. 8 programs coming to you from Nile Avenue here in Kampala. And we thank you for your time. Of course, UBC will be bringing you more programs even after we have left. The whole of this period is going to be very interesting programming. And I urge you not to miss it at UBC. So by the time we went off the screens, we are talking about the European paganism. Apparently, it has been now turned to us that what was happening in Africa by the time the European civilization, as they call it, came to Africa was paganism. Your medicines was paganism. Your worship was paganism. Your kumbe, that's not the truth. And we're learning now that today, and from other fora, that actually, if there was a person who, if you stood an African and a European, and you are looking at the pagan person, one of them was pagan, but not the African. That's what Pastor Kajura is trying to explain.
Yeah, thank you. That is what we call Westoxication. It is a new term developed by a Nigerian theologian. Coming from 2 words, West, then toxic, which is poison. And he elaborates a lot about how African mind has been actually imperialized to think that whatever is European is Christianity. Good. Yet it is not. And of course, one of them is this Christmas, which is just their own traditions that were Christianized. But I wanted to make 2 points also on my issue of Europe and paganism, and to suffice my point that they have never been worshippers. When you look at Christianity, I began with the persecution of Jesus, and he came to Africa for safety. But when you look at Christianity itself now, after Christ has left, it began to spread. Of course, from Turkey, the first church to be planted was in Turkey, the Galatian church by Paul. It went on that peninsula. It went up to, now it entered the Europe. Of course, when the message by Paul went to Athens in Greece, Paul spent there 5 years and he barely baptized anybody.
Oh.
You see, 5 years debating serious issues, they refused. Because they had their own way of worship and they were very rigid. So when he went to Rome, I'm just summarizing everything. When Christianity reached Rome, I want to tell you every confusion you see, infant baptism, Easter, what, that was the end of Christianity, by the way. Because once Christianity touched the real core of pure Europe,
paganism,
Christianity was distorted, absolutely distorted. First of all the two powerful apostles were killed in Europe. That is Peter and Paul. First and foremost, they didn't even tolerate them to live. They were murdered from Rome. Now, this is when, as I said, the wars continued between Christianity and the Roman paganism. And the emergence of Constantine brought now all the Christianized things from, we call them Christianization of pagan Roman activities or practices into Christianity. And everything has got a year and how it came in, just as I talked of Christianity being our topic of discussion. So brothers and sisters, we are not against the Europeans, but they are not godly people. That one I can speak it boldly as a theologian. They are not. In their spirit, in their blood, they have no reverence, even for their own parents. Those of you who have traveled, you know that the Bible tells us to respect our parents 100%. And that one rhymes with African culture.
And through the respect for the parent, with the God here planted by God on earth,
yes,
you will get your rewards from the Father in heaven.
But do you know what they do to their parents?
They put
them in nursing water. So I think we will get time one day, if I am brought back, just to tell you the culture of Europe, which completely attacks the Bible, and the African culture, which directly agrees with the Bible.
Information here.
You come.
The information, yes, giving you information that Africa is a value-led society.
Sure.
Completely different from Europe, which is the so-called a rights-led society.
Yes.
This is information I want
and
to
money.
Yes.
Yes.
So we can't be the same.
Yeah.
But also on Ndugu Garama, I think it was you who was talking about what happened. We are people who are more spiritual than others, but why are we at the receiving end of the short stick, if you will? Pastor Kajura here was talking about, if you read the Bible, you'll understand that there are spiritual forces, among which is Satan, of course. He sits at the top, who is described as the God of this world.
Yeah.
But I think I also want to...
A ruler.
Yes. I want to introduce another element, and this is in Hosea 4 and 6. It talks about my people are destroyed by lack, or for lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
But it is the knowledge that we are talking about here, for example, that many of the things that we have consumed and taken for granted were never Christian to begin with.
Yes.
So many of our foundations concerning Christianity as we know it are false and rooted in thin air. In other words, the God of Christianity cannot entertain the approach that is Western.
Yes.
So we have to revisit the true nature. We have to go back. We have to defy Leopold and say, while you said we should not learn to reason, we have actually learned. Now we are going to dissect these scriptures and see the truth of the matter. We are not going to deal with Christianity and Christmas festivities because someone in Paris said so. I will sit and examine what was the basis of this particular thing. If I find that it has no foundation in the truth, the Word of God, I really need to let it go.
Yeah, because again, when you go back to the letter of King Leopold, one will also think that Leopold was not thinking alone. That there could have been other European powers that were thinking with him, or they must have sat somewhere and agreed.
But
in other words,
that was the general thinking, Comrade Mututa. That was general thinking. Probably, if you will permit me, the two things that stand out for me, especially from the submission of my colleague Pastor Kajura and Sister Rachel, are one, that as we go into this festive season, we need a complete rethink of the concept of Christmas. Is Christmas necessarily a thing of Christianity? Are we doing it the right way?
No.
And if that is not if that is the position, that we're not doing it the right way, we need our ministers, the faith ministers, in their respective capacities, to drum up this message that we need a complete rethink. The President of the Republic of Uganda and the chairman of the Pan-African, patron of the Pan-African movement, was recent, I think it was his Christmas message, giving a story of the Iranian minister, president rather, who came and he was hosted, who is actually Shia. You know, in Muslims, there are Shias and Sunnis. So the president of Iran, who is actually Shia, came and visited the mosque here, our mosques in the Old Kampala, and which is actually a Sunni, if you go by that. And guess who was welcoming him? The Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Dr. Archbishop Dr. Gonda, Dr. Kazimba Mugaru, was the one who, in his capacity as the chair of the joint interreligious joint council. That interreligious joint council, I think, was a very important step that was taken by all the faithfuls. These denominations, they came together, and I think in that direction, because we had for a very long time, which was bestowed upon us again by thanks to the colonialists, the polarization that you are Anglican, you have nothing, you don't even go to a school belonging to a Seventh Day, to a Catholic, to a Muslim, and this is how we have been. But I'm glad that progressively we seem to have these, if I may call them, intermarriages, that an Anglican will go and marry a Catholic. But still, although we have got these kind of resistances here and there, the progress is good. You can see it is not as it was some years ago. Some years ago it was terrible. So the concept of Pan-Africanism now, even in these religious affairs, is taking shape. That you can have an Anglican with a Roman Catholic, if there is such a thing anyway, because it is purely creation of the white man. And whatever he wanted is what you are reading in that paper, in that letter that Leopold wrote. Teach the Pharaohs, the niggers as he calls them, not to reason. Because the moment you begin reasoning, and I was saying that even reasoning, by the way, even up to now, is still a problem. Why? I can assure you that be it a Seventh-day Adventist believer or in that church, when you begin questioning certain things, reasoning, they will call you, first talk to you, and if you keep reasoning, they will dismiss you. And the same happens in Muslim community, the same happens in Roman Catholic, the same happens in Anglicanism.
And Pentecostals.
That is even worse. The reasoning is a problem. You have got to subscribe to what the text says, or you are a leader in that particular faith.
You are the one who said before he comes in, you are the one who is saying that you're now appealing to the ministers of the church. That's what they call them. And you know why they call them ministers? Because that is also the fusion, which started, like we said, in Rome, when you had the church and the leadership now, because the church is becoming very popular and very influential, and politicians would fear that. So the fusing is what brings in the issue of ministers. That when you are a minister in the government, you can also be a minister in the church. And because this was now a church in a state fusion, and they have a state religion, so a person responsible for that part, a diocese, will be a minister, or will be with the same accolades like the minister in a government.
And what about the robes? Do they have anything to do with this, the Christianity?
Yes, the robes, he will explain to that, because I'm not an
the flowing robes.
He will explain that. But now your ministers you are appealing to help people understand that Christmas is what we celebrate is not actually the true Christmas, have taken the oath, which they cannot go against. Now, if you are going to tell them to begin doing that, they will begin reasoning. And you know what happens when you reason?
Unfortunately, it is sad.
Pastor Kajuru.
Yes. I think if I can pick from where you've ended, in the submission of in regard to the submission of my brother, why the ministers cannot actually tell people the truth. You know, Satan, I will still go back to how he wanted to capture Jesus in tempting him. What did he do? He showed him bounties of wealth. Now, when we talk about Christmas today, actually it is more commercial. You know, the devil is very strategic. I normally teach about the devil's ways. The devil knew that he cannot sustain this thing through religion, and he succeeds. Some brains will come up to challenge it biblically and textually. Now it is more of business and the commercial. So even those very ministers who would have told the people the truth, this is when the baskets swell.
Sure.
Yes. So it is now, you see, it is even these so-called independent churches, Pentecostals and all that, again, they cannot.
Actually, they're the biggest
because this is now the season of harvest. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So because of that, don't expect anyone to campaign this thing, because you know this is the same issue with AIDS. Nobody should deceive you that there is no medicine cure for AIDS. Nobody. But when you
that is a serious statement.
Bring out yes, when you bring out that cure, the companies of condoms will close. How many are there? Very many, employing a lot of people, and they are a vision. So many things.
The whole pharmaceutical industry global.
So now it is more of commercial.
Yeah,
AIDS must stay. Now even Christmas, it is more of commercial, it must stay.
Yeah, because you look at it more in terms of how much money is being accumulated. Like I told you, if I passed through town yesterday, even breathing was a problem. To have your head up there, to have a breather. At the same time, when economies actually are doing badly, not only in Uganda, many other parts of the world, but still one has to at least save that little money that will be able to buy something at the end of the year.
There is also a direct attack, Comrade Mututa. There is a direct attack, by the way. not just through celebrating of Christmas, but the Christian faith that we have, as and especially the kind of revival within these denominations that we have. There is a very serious attack on the African culture, and I wonder whether we should allow that to obtain. How there is a growing population of the so-called Christians who say, don't call children names of your dead grandparents. People have to die. Right. That is one. Two, they will say, don't even remember the dead. The dead are dead. Just forget about them. Don't have anything to do with having a day to say, now the people died and these were my grandparents and we have got to go back and pay respects and say, not to worship them, but to remember that they lived and they created an impact and maybe we need to emulate. Now, when that trend is allowed in the name of Christianity, that's why I was appealing to the ministers.
We are now saying it
is a big problem.
Not even Christianity, but religion. Yeah? We are now looking at religion. But you also see that, as she said it, for me, if you asked me if I should go to the village and celebrate Christmas, or I should go to the village and do the, what you are saying, people going to the Bijat, you know, during Christmas, is people go and do the cleaning of the Bijat.
The cemeteries.
Exactly. I would rather, because then, if I'm going to do this tree, that came from a pagan religion, which is not, for me, which is not even
what
African.
What does it even mean?
Of course.
It was supposed to represent...
No, let the theologian tell us about the tree.
No, it was supposed to represent... remember, it comes out of a place where, at this time of year, there is no greenness.
Yes.
The land is covered by snow and so on. So they had this evergreen, and that is really what it's supposed to be. These plants that withstood many of these excesses of climate and so on. So for them, it represented a continuity of life. Even when trees lose all their leaves, and even when there is no yellow green in the fields, this particular tree reminded them that they will live to see a resurgence of the fruit, which was true in the springtime.
And that's why I said that represented Saturnalia, which is a god of agriculture, telling the people that is still in charge. This is just a short time, because remember it is winter.
Yeah,
it's winter. Yeah,
and that's why you have this white showing the snowing is still continuing at that time.
But
so almost the same thing as cutting the cake at the wedding.
That is a different animal. That's a different animal, but still the same traditions.
You see?
But I think also, Ndugu Mututa, one of the things that informs where we are at this time, and we're talking about Christian traditions, not even Christian traditions, but Western traditions versus Christianity. I said here before that in 1989, the same Pope, the Pope at the time, John Paul II, I believe, he was speaking to Gorbachev, who was the Russian president at the time, and the Soviet Union had collapsed. Remember the greats of Russia at that time, the Stalins and others, or Lenin.
The Lenins, the Stalins.
They had worked tooth and nail to snuff out spirituality. Actually, someone called it the opium of the masses. They said, look, a man cannot be spiritual, not necessarily Christian, but a man must not spend time on spiritual matters because that puts him to waste. It takes over his mind.
Yeah, time, you are wasting time.
Now, this is a man who was freshly out of that arrangement. I'm talking about Gorbachev. And when the Pope met with this man, he made a statement. And he said, Christianity must learn to breathe with two lungs. He said the one, and this is the paganism we're talking about, the one is permissive, it is opulent, they are consumed with commercialism, and I said here before that in many parts of Europe, there is no link between Christmas Day and the Christ child. There is no link.
Yeah.
It is about spending, spending, and more spending.
And fun.
Eating, drinking, and everything in between.
Sure.
When you say there is a Christ child around whom this tradition was built, they look at you as if you're crazy. These people have totally removed religion and spiritualism from the commercial aspect. That one, the separation is complete. Where the separation is not complete is here in Africa. Unfortunately, here they are still telling us it is one and the same. Western tradition with its excessive opulence and fixation with commercialism. They are now saying that one is the equivalent of Christianity. They are saying, please take, eat, drink. That one will put you in closer to God. And then he said the second lang is those people who are still in faith. They are still believing there is a God, the other way it should be. So he's saying, remember this was the lead of the Catholic Church at the time. But for them, it is clear to them that there are two Christian camps. The one that is totally secular while pretending to be spiritual, and the other that is still spiritual and struggling to be secular.
Now, when you bring that back home in Africa, where we have a growing church, because I think the biggest number of progressive churches are in Africa.
Of course.
You have seen, maybe we shall not have time to see that clip, where most of the churches in Europe have now turned into nightclubs, into social centers where people do gambling, and all the stupid things you think of are happening, because you just walk in the municipality or a city hall and you hire a building which was formerly a church. Where did the people go? They have vanished in thin air. There's no more Christianity, there's no more religion. And when finally they come here, they want to tell you, do this, do this, do this. And in that letter, Leopold was saying, make sure you remove them, they are thinking of their heroes, but you implant them with our heroes.
Exactly.
He was saying that people are saying, don't name your child Mututa because that name is from your dead father.
Yes.
You name him Joseph. There are even new names I have had.
I had trouble. Didn't I tell you? I had trouble here baptizing my daughter. When I said this one is Denning Akatkunda Rugarama, then the person in charge was like, there is no Christian name here. I was like, what do you mean? Even at the level of appreciating our own religion here, the Anglican, you will very well know that Ewan Rugarama was the youngest and the very first martyr to die here in Natete. At that level, Christianity is defined and we have finished it. Do you have a problem? You are in charge of Uganda, you don't know that? So you want me to call her what?
I have seen people coming from Nigeria coming here as the legion of the local names here.
There is Saint Luanga.
Yeah, there are groups.
Even in Kenya.
They are coming from.
Oh, even in Cameroon they have the Chizito.
Yes.
Chizito, you see, because of the matters.
Yeah.
I think that trend is good if they adopted it, because you see, the matters must not be, the Christianity must not be associated with European names. Peter, Paul,
John.
But
John.
you know, Rugarama, you are the one who talked about commercialism. These names come with money. When you get this name, you pay to be baptized.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it has also been the commercialism. Now, when you think of Peter, someone who is, that is not even a Christian name. Those were traditional names from
their white men's names.
But because of the idiocy here in Africa, and because they were told us not to reason anyway,
yes,
we go by these names, and then we call our children these names, and we think they're Christian names. Zero. These are names as names. Your name can also, and then you begin to think. Assuming you for those who believe in Christianity, that you have your name written somewhere in God's book. What name are they writing?
Let me ask a question. If you converted the Chinese to Christianity, would he cease being called Qingyong?
No.
Does that take away the, if at all, those are the credentials, does it take away his acceptance in Christianity and his relationship with God simply because the name has not changed.
And
the reason as to why the names were given to us, you see, when you own something, you give that something your name.
Yes.
We were, even in the so-called Christianity, captives. And you must be a captive to the... You remember the film, Roots, where Tombi, the name Tombi and Kinta Kunte, that argument, I even wonder, by the way, with the generation we have today, go into deep analysis of some of these issues. It was not simply the name. So relinquishing Kinta Kunte and substituting it with Tombi was a very serious issue, to the extent that anybody viewing that film, and you are looking at it from the Pan-African angle, actually Kinta Kunte never relinquished his name. He remained Kinta Kunte. But for purposes of surviving the canes that he was being given, he said, I am. Now, the problem here is that they have got to give up. By the way, watch that. Even when you go for seminars and what have you, they will simply put Peter, put James, put Daniel. That is the simplest. It is not about that. Even in schools, they will say, these names are too long. You have to cut them. All they are trying to do is to keep you as European as possible. Has nothing to do with rejecting Mututa or Garama, what have you. What they want you to cut your roots, say that indeed, to rhyme with what Leopold was saying, let them forget their heroes and they adopt our heroes. Successful revolutions remember their heroes. They build on the shoulders and be able to see the future by standing on the shoulders of their past giants.
That's true.
And actually, brother, the matter we are discussing here is crucial in matters of values and Christianity, because as a teacher of religion, I see another movement coming in Africa amongst the younger people, especially what we call secularism. This is where young people don't believe in any supernatural power these days. They even go to the extent of not believing in Satan, neither God. They just want to be independent. And this is what killed the churches in Europe. Secularism and atheism. And I'm seeing this trend. You know, I normally interact with younger people on in different forums. You see a younger man, very, very... You know, I joined the ministry when I'm young, at 20 years. So even the questions I was getting from young people, why am I a pastor at that time? And they were shocked. Now, leave alone that. These days, they are frankly telling you that this issue of God, this issue of... You know, they don't believe in anything. They just believe in, I'm born to live, to enjoy my life, and they die, that's all. And
yeah, because partly...
and they are not attending churches, they are neither attending anywhere, no traditional functions, they are just independent.
And actually, you say they're independent, but it's not true. It shows a triumph of Western secularism. These are people who are sitting on a foundation of, it is Ndugumuru Garama who was talking earlier, about this education not being our own.
Not for reasoning.
This education crafted in a stealthy fashion, and then you start on this from kindergarten and so on. So by the time you reach these higher levels, you have actually been set on another foundation. It is not accidental. First of all, they separate you from your society.
Sure.
While you live there,
that is it.
You begin by not speaking the language.
That is it.
There are people in this town who cannot speak one African
You are very right.
word. Their mother tongue. Yes, and they've never been to Nairobi.
Absolutely.
They've never left this country, but they can't speak one word in a local language.
It is true.
So that is a triumph of Western secularism. Now, you cannot, it is next to impossible for that person to be true to Africa.
It is
it is next to impossible. Because you're there, you have neither roots, no wings.
It is true.
So you will never be European, now you're also not an African. We said here before that being an African is not looking like you are.
The color.
It is not a question of color. It's a question of the way you think, the way you reason, even the way you talk.
Yes.
So we have people who look like you and me, but who are Western, almost white in every way.
Absolutely.
So when you're talking about...
There are even those who have hated themselves so much that even the color they have to remove it.
True.
Yes.
By chemical means.
Yes.
By all means.
By chemical means.
Chemical.
Yes, by chemical means.
Rotten information.
Yes.
The success story of discrimination and inheritance of the black community, if I may use the word, in America especially, is the successful emphasis and miseducation to the extent that the black person has been denied identity. The concept,
they took their names.
The concept of self. You don't have a name. You don't
have
have
a
a
clan.
language.
Yes.
You don't have a background, a culture.
You have no clan.
You have no culture.
You are
Rootless.
ruthless. And the moment somebody panobits you into that shape, the moment you cannot identify yourself as so and so, son of so and so, from this particular place, with these geographical features, you are ruthless, you become, in the mind ideologically, you cannot think beyond what your captors want you to think.
That is it.
And the moment Christianity successfully turns the converts into people who merely celebrate Christmas to the level to which the white man wants them to celebrate it, Christianity would not have only lost meaning, but the concept of Christmas would be as irrelevant as the people who celebrate it.
That is it.
Rich, you were saying something.
I was saying that so much so that, yes, we are talking about issues, Christmas, but we cannot separate them from the day-to-day dynamics, because the perpetrators of the other evils are hard at work even in this Christmas time. The idea, it is a battle of the mind. You really don't have to chain anyone. We've all seen these chickens from the West, actually. Not these ones from the soil. You actually keep this thing confined for maybe 1 week, maybe a month. After that, you can let him go, and he won't go.
He'll be still there.
He'll be still there, thinking the chains are with him. And the African man, these people have been working since they first encountered the black man to get us to a level where we're working thinking we are free, but there is no freedom of any kind. If you take a person's thinking and reasoning, you finished him.
Yeah, because the person will still remain in that.
Yes, you finished him. Because look at, right now I am thinking, I said this before, the Prime Minister of England is an Indian by extraction. You know, he's a citizen and so on, but his parents are Indian. And then we have a not so distant President of the United States, who was an African by extraction. And then, of course, we have others. Right now, the Defense Secretary of the United States is darker than all of us here.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But his whiteness is more than any white man I've ever encountered.
That is it.
Even the UN, American UN ambassador, is that dark?
Yes, she's darker than all of us here. But she's whiter on the inside than any white man I know. What I'm trying to say is, when we get there, whether that is in the Christmas season or in the Easter season, if we get to a place where everything that we espouse and we confidently talk is really someone else's thinking, secular Western humanism will have finished the experiment that began 1,000 years ago.
The most successful story in Christianity and of neocolonialism, it will be at a point when the white man will not be, it will not be necessary for a white man to come and fight his battles here, but in the black community, the black person is
whiter
doing the
than
white
white.
man's bidding.
That
That's the most successful
but
story
that
for
is
the
what
white
has
man.
been happening. That we sometimes when we sit here in Africa and then we begin blaming this white man, you are looking at your brother, your sister, who is doing the dirty work of the white person, of the white man, of the colonialist. Now, that has been over now centuries, doing the same thing. She was talking about the elections in Egypt and the elections in Congo, which is ongoing.
And there are Christians there.
Yes. And actually, Congo has the biggest number of Catholics. I think,
Yes.
So why are we killing each other?
Egypt has about 2%.
Yeah.
So the question becomes...
But they persecute them, seriously.
Yes,
like they
killing
do
them.
persecute the black community in Egypt. Maybe
Exactly.
that is another subject we should look at.
should look at
But
at
the
one
truth of the
part
matter, in Egypt, Arafat Sisi won by close to 90%, and the factors that led to that are known.
Of course.
As we talk in DRC, they are still voting. The exercise is ongoing.
Yeah. But we're
Why?
talking
But
about-
when you look at how the terrain, and we give this silly, you will forgive my language, silly excuse that you see DRC is a very vast country and it is very difficult therefore to manage elections or to no, this country is is full of civil wars. It is very difficult, at least it has been very difficult now for any administration, and I think Tshisekedi was trying to effectively control this country. It is mineral rich, but it is poor to the extent that they can even not afford an election. You remember?
Exactly.
Kabila
Yeah.
postponed,
Yeah,
arguing
because
that he
there was
didn't
no
have money. And
the-
people said
and
it's
he
a lie.
was waiting for someone to give him money from somewhere, from Europe actually.
Don't forget that the most expensive country, the most expensive security mission in the whole world is the MONUC and MONUSCO of UN. The amount of money going into keeping these missions for a number of years in DRC is unmatched, and they cannot afford an election.
Yeah, because let's
So
say
they have taken over our thinking to talk about who tells you that it has to be a UN mission to stabilize the state? You cannot stabilize an entity that you don't know.
Yeah, but they have been stabilizing that place and pushing in these missions for stabilization of these places until the drone crashed and what was found.
And
there-
even the fear is, should Tshisekedi win, I wish him well, but the kind of his campaign has always been that I'm going to wage a war on Rwanda. Now, I hope he is prevailed upon. Should he win and he wages a war on Rwanda, it would be a disaster. And this claim that the Banyamulenge, this M23, are actually not citizens of DRC is also a fallacy, because due to separation and colonialism, we had people who were in different places. You would get this Mututa here, my brother, and he goes to Kenya, and you say he's not, he should be in Kenya because there are more Bamba Saba, I think, in Kenya than they are here in Uganda.
Then maybe Tshisekedi should wage war into Rwanda.
Now what will he achieve? Because the Banyamulenge are not going anywhere anyway.
To take them back to Rwanda, what is the aim?
These are geographical justice.
We are winding up, gentlemen and lady, and so we'll give Pastor Kajura to give his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, moderator and my colleagues on the panel. For me, I have sadness in my heart that Africans, we have the best culture,
Yes.
which actually cannot be matched with any other culture. And by God's providence, our culture, when you look at it, 90 and even I can say 98% agrees with the biblical culture. We would be the best Christians
To teach the world.
to teach the entire world. Because even in our blood, we are worshippers, we are godly, we are, you know, we have values.
And Leopold appreciates that.
We are reverent and
He
we
says
are-
niggas no God. Don't joke with them.
we are very, very good people. But the way this trend of westernization and westoxication is sweeping, especially the young generation, I'm a bit worried. You see, I'm a bit worried to completely tune their minds towards Europe, and also our leaders, political leaders, at that line also. There are those who have been intoxicated with westernization to the extent that you find an African parliament debating about homosexuality, and the people are supporting African parliament. These are taboos in our communities that we don't even freely debate about them. Right now, as I speak, there is a case in the court. Those agitators of this anti-homosexual bill, they have taken the...
By the way, don't quote me. That decision may be overturned. So, I'm not saying anything.
So, anyway, for me, this leaves me worried. And say we are being colonized for sure, even in the 21st century.
This debate wouldn't have been better than this, but I think we'll have more time to have more discussion on this, and we'll be, Pastor, inviting you at an appropriate time to come and discuss more on this, because it is rare to have many of the religious people talking about African issues with that kind of zeal. But we'll have time and invite you, and on behalf of all of you, my colleagues, my panelists, fellow panelists, and those who have been on the production team, thank you. And thank you, viewer, who has been with us for these last 2 hours. It has not been a short time, but we appreciate you being with us, your time. And also I appreciate for those who send in their views. Apparently today we didn't have much of the time, but next time we'll have some time to answer some of the questions that you have raised, especially from the last topic we were discussing again about religion. But I promise that we'll have time and go through all those questions and answer each by each, and definitely I know we'll be having more maybe as we finish this program today. Until we meet next week, wish you the best of this Christmas season, and take care. The eating and the indulgence be at least regulated. Thank you so much for being with us, and have the nice weekend. Have the best of the time till we meet again. Oh, thank you.
Is my name, a presenter at UBC. I want to congratulate you who is watching me this time for the things we have achieved and accomplished this year 2023. But I also want to console you about the things that you have not been able to achieve or accomplish in this 2023. There is hope. Please do not give up. At this festive season, please stop littering plastics. We have one environment, and when we destroy it, we shall have nowhere else to live. For those who are traveling for Christmas this festive season, I pray and request you to drive safely, slowly but sure. It is better to delay on the road than to delay in the hospital. For those who are taking the medicine, please endeavor to take them in time. We still need you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2024. Keep it watching, keep it UBC, and we shall keep it a promise that we made to you, the people of Uganda, of inspiring you with the information and educative programs.
Pick of the day on UBC.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public. from the various sources such as inspirational profiles.
Having disability is not inability.
Every Friday 9 p.m. it's one-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My